Tell me about it, Sheikh.
You in your case, get trained.
I don't know about that one.
Assalamualaikum shabab. He's aren't that old. You can move a bit forward. Miss my talks? Which talks? Fake religious. Wow. I'm worried about that talk, man. People are using it as a what's it called? Is that me? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد. We begin by praising Allah Azza wa Jal, Lord of the Alameen, which is mankind, jinn, and everything that exists. And we bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his slave and his messenger. Shabab, I remember years ago I was listening to a talk back when we used to have things called CD players. Back when you had to use a CD to listen to things, not everything's on your phone. And I remember listening to a sheikh giving a talk about a father who came to him and asked him, "Oh sheikh, I want to know if I'm at fault." He goes, "What do you mean, I'm at fault for what?" He goes, "I want to know if I'm at fault for my son's dilemma." He goes, "Alright, khair, tfaddal, tell me, what's the problem?" He goes, "My son, I raised him up on deen, taught him the Quran, he memorized a big portion of the Quran, used to listen to the talks, come front row of the mosque, Fajr, Sunnah prayers, Quran, everything." Because one day he started to sort of phase out. He was in the front row, now he's in the last. He was always memorizing and revising Quran, now he barely opens it. Used to come to the lessons, now I don't see him in the mosque whatsoever. So I followed him up. I wanted to find out what had happened and what's happening and catch it in its early stages. So he followed his son, and he saw him go and meet up with some friends, and they were taking drugs. Now he spoke to his son. It wasn't one of those typical shouting, screaming, bashing type. No, he spoke to his son. He told him what's halal and haram. He told him what this thing would do to him. He encouraged him. He convinced him it was wrong. And his son would try to stop. A day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, he'd fall back into it. Went to doctors. He got medicines, things that will help him stop. Again, a week, 2 weeks, he'd fall back into it. His friends were always there, always letting their presence known, trying to encourage him. They were there for him. They were his mates. They were there for him. Look what they were there for him for though. He goes, he got out of hand. So I took my son and I went overseas. Several times I went, every single time for months on end, so I can get over his habit. But I'd come back. Every time I'd come back, as soon as the plane would land, he would go back to who? His friends. 19. 19 years old. He goes, until the situation got so bad, I knew I was going to lose my son. So what did he do? He put him in the house and he locked the door. He put him in his room, he locked the door. He had a room, he fixed a toilet, a little toiletry in there, and a shower and so on, and he locked the door. And he told his family, never ever open this door for your brother or for your son. If you open this door, we're going to lose our son. So weeks passed, and the shouting and the screaming and the begging from his son started to dim down. Until one day, the father got up, went to work, and his mother comes over, the kid's grandmother. As soon as the kid heard his grandmother in the other room, he begins to shout and to scream and to beg, "Oh, my grandmother, I've repented, I'll never do it again, I'll stop it, I'll this, I'll that." Mind you, all this time, all these several weeks that he's in his room, what are his friends doing? They're outside, laughing and joking, making sounds, throwing rocks on his window to let him know, "We're here for you. We're your mates, we're here for you." Shabab, he screamed and he begged so much that his grandmother felt sorry for him and she opened the door. And as soon as she opened the door, hit the runner. The father comes home that night, opens the door, walks through the corridor. As soon as he sees that door open for his son's room, he knew he'd never see his son again. He goes, "I looked for my son for 3 nights and 2 full days." So that night, all night, the next day, all day, the next night, all night, the next day, all day, the third night, all night or half the night until he couldn't no more. He had no more strength to look anymore. So he went home and he went to sleep. Right before Fajr, they get a knock on the door, opens the door, it's the police. "Come with us." "Khair, inshallah, tell me what's wrong." He goes, "Just come with us." He goes, "Just tell me what's up." He goes, "Just follow us." They grab him and they take him. He goes, they went out to the outskirts of the city. And they walked and walked and walked after the car could go no more. They walked and walked until they got to an abandoned school. And they went into the school and went all the way down the stairs to the bottom floor to the toilets. They walk into the toilets and they tell him, "Identify this body, is that your son?" 19 years old. 19 years old, OD'd on drugs. He died in a bathroom. He died in a toilet, the house of the shayateen. ODing on drugs, doing haram. But here's the question, Shabab. Here's the question. Where were his friends? Where were those mates of his? Those boys who were always standing by him. They left him in a toilet. They didn't even inform the police or someone to come and take him out of the toilet. They didn't have the decency to move him from the toilet themselves. They left him dead in a toilet and they hit the runner. These people, how did they help him when it came time for death? How are they going to help him in that grave when he's questioned and tortured by the angels? How are they going to help him on the day of judgment when Allah Azza wa Jal is questioning him? How are they going to help him when the angels are dragging him into hellfire? Where were his friends then? They couldn't even help him when he died. They didn't even help him after he died. How are they going to help him in the akhirah? Shabab, the thing is, we claim we believe in Allah. We claim, forgive me for saying this, I know it sounds a bit harsh, but bear with me for a second. We claim we believe in Allah. We claim we believe in the Prophet ﷺ. But when he says a hadith, do we really believe it? Like honestly, do we really in our heart believe that that's what's going to happen? When the Prophet ﷺ tells you there is no 2 ways about it, you are on the religion of your friend. But it's a very dangerous territory. He says you are on the religion of your friend. Whoever your friend is, you're on his religion. If I sit there and think, "Nah man, I'm still a Muslim, but I'm going to hang out with this evil person and I'm not like him," you've disbelieved in the Prophet ﷺ saying. The Prophet ﷺ told you the good friend is the example of a perfume salesman. There is no way in this world that you could hang out with a good person except you'll leave smelling like perfume, except you'll benefit something, except you'll be affected in a good way. And that example of the evil person, my dear brothers and sisters, that evil brother, that evil sister that invites you to do haram, that backbites with you being there, giving you the sins as well, that encourages you to take this guy's number or that girl's number, that evil friend is the example of a blacksmith. By Allah, no matter how good you are, no matter how perfect you are, if you hang out with him or her, you will leave smelling like coal. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we claim we believe in Rasulullah. But when he tells us this hadith, we say to ourselves, "Nah man, I can hang out with him, I can hang with her, nothing will happen." You disbelieved in the Prophet ﷺ's hadith. How dare we claim we believe in Allah and His Prophet, but we disbelieve in their words? Shabab, brothers and sisters, there is no two ways about it. There is no two ways about it. You're going to have people. You're going to hang out with people. You're going to spend time with people that are no good. Either you believe in Allah and you know you're going to be affected negatively, or you don't believe in Allah Azza wa Jalla and you don't care. There's no two ways about it. Even older people, not just younger people. Wallahi Hafiz, I was walking once as I was studying overseas, 2008. I'm walking to the mosque next to my house. As I'm walking to the mosque, the adhan had already been called. And I got to the corner where I turn into the street of the actual mosque. As I turn into the corner of that street, it's only 150 meters to the mosque. The iqamah is called out. Now I'm panicking. I'm trying to make it to the mosque. I wanted to make it to the front row. If I can't, at least to takbirat al-ihram. So I start rushing on that last stretch, that last 50 meters, around that corner. I start rushing to make it to the mosque. As I'm about to reach to the mosque, literally 2 shops away from the mosque. So 15 meters from the mosque, I glance to my right as I'm rushing to the mosque, and I see a little cafe, literally like 4x4. Dim lights, rubbish, nothing in there but just tables and chairs. Old run-down room. The room was filled with fog. From what? From the argila and the cigarettes. I glanced a bit closer, and I noticed the room was filled with men over 60. Playing cards, smoking argila, and having whatever sweets or whatever with it. And the iqamah of the mosque is going off 15 meters away. Shabab, brothers and sisters, Allahu Alam, I don't know. But I don't believe I've ever made a more sincere dua than I made on that day. When I looked at them and I saw them over 60 years old, on the edge of their lives, close to death, on the edge of their grave. On the edge of their grave. Because the Prophet ﷺ told us our lives are between 60 and 70. That's the average. The scholars of the past, the righteous people of the past, once they hit the age of 40, they used to divorce the world. Literally divorce it. Throw everything aside, their money, their families, their wealth, their businesses. They used to throw everything aside and run to the worship of Allah, because they know what's left of their life is less than what has already passed. They're already 40. The Prophet ﷺ said 60 to 70 is our lifespan. So they've already lived more than they have left. So they used to go into the worship of Allah. These people were over 60. They're on the edge of their death. They're at the edge of their grave. And the iqamah is being called 15 meters away from the mosque. 15 meters. Completely heedless, wasting their time, doing haram, not knowing or not realizing that they're going to meet their Creator any second, any moment. Young or small. Why are they like that? Because of their friends. Because of the environment they were raised in. Because the environment they spent in. Man shabba ala shay shaba alayh. He who grows up doing something with certain people will grow old doing that same something with those certain people. There's no two ways about it. A sheikh, he in Sydney, a sheikh himself was telling me the story of how his friends kept on his back. This is a sheikh. He knows what's halal and haram. He knows about israf and tabzir, how you shouldn't overspend even in the halal. He was driving a nice car, $20,000 car. His friends, the business partners that he was involved with, kept on his back for so long. Buy a better car, it'll give our business a better image, it'll this, it'll that. They kept encouraging him until he went and bought an $80,000 car on finance. This is a sheikh. Young, old, sheikh, layman, whoever it is, you hang out with the wrong people, by Allah, you'll be affected negatively. And if you don't believe that, check your iman. Check your iman. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, be careful who you hang out with. Be careful the environments you spend your time in. If it's not in the mosque, it's doing haram. Let's be honest with ourselves. What do we do when we go home? Watch movies? Play games? Isn't playing too much games, wasting too much time haram? If it's not haram, the least it is not doing any good. Isn't that right? If I'm not here and I'm not doing haram outside, the least is I'm not doing as much good as I would have been doing here. Be careful the environments you're in. Be careful where you spend your time, shabab, brothers and sisters. Wallahi, your most valuable asset is time. Your most valuable commodity is time. You can be a multi-trillionaire. Wallahi, you could not bring back 1 second that has passed. You could be a multi-trillionaire, you could not extend your life by 1 second. We just buried my uncle, Ali Bana, on Wednesday. That's my uncle. Go see how his last moments were. I can't get the image out of my head. What did his money do for him? Alhamdulillah, at least he done a bit of good before he died. But that's not our topic. I'll leave that aside. Maybe another time, inshallah. Your most valuable commodity is your time. Allah is telling you, I'm giving you whatever it is, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Out of that 70 years, you sleep for a third of it, there's 25 gone. You work for another third of it, there's another 25 gone, 50 gone, 20 left. Don't you eat, don't you drink, don't you shower, don't you change, don't you go between jobs, don't you muck around. All that time, what's left from the 20? 5? Out of those 5 years, He's telling you, worship me, just 5 prayers a day. Come to my house and I'll give you success. Read my Quran and I'll make sure your life is successful. Out of those 5 years that are left, give me just a bit of time and I'll guarantee you a life of everlasting pleasure and bliss for eternity. But then we're like, you know what, I'll hang out with him. I don't want you, Ya Allah, I want him. I want her. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, be careful who you hang out with. Even that comedian, that bloke who seems innocent, that comedian in the group, the one that's always cracking jokes, that's always making fun of people, you think he's harmless, you think there's nothing up, I can hang out with him, he's not too bad. Even that comedian himself, making fun of other people, how bad it is. You could never, ever get that sin wiped away, even if you go to Hajj, until you go apologize from the person that you made fun of, that you backbited. You think it's harmless? See, one of the companions, he makes a statement. He goes, there's certain things that amaze me. They blow my mind. I can't understand them. They go, what's that? You know what one of them was? He goes, I cannot comprehend looking at a person sitting there laughing out loud. His smile so wide that his back teeth can be seen, laughing out loud, while he doesn't know that whether Allah Azza wa Jal is happy with him or extremely angry with him, waiting for any second to destroy him. How do you know? How do you know if Allah is pleased with you or absolutely displeased with you? I'll give you an example. What do I mean by this? If my father now comes up to me, any one of your fathers, and he comes up to you and is really upset about something that you've done, really angry, really agitated, losing his mind, angry, shouting, screaming. Imagine you laughed in his face. How disrespectful would that be? Wouldn't that drive him crazy, make him bash you even more? Am I right or not? Wouldn't that make him retaliate or even have a worse reaction than he had before? Now apply that to Allah Azza wa Jal. Imagine you're disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal, and He's angry with you. And then instead of waking up and being scared, being worried what Allah does, you're laughing in His face. Imagine He destroyed you right there and then. Something to think about, something to worry about. Because Allah Azza wa Jal, in His hands is everything. Your dunya, your akhirah, before you're alive, after you're dead, everything. If He were to leave you for 1 second, wallahi, 1 second, 1 microsecond, who's going to make your heart beat? Who's going to make your brain function? The air that you're breathing in, who takes out the oxygen, uses it and gets rid of the carbon dioxide? It's all in Allah Azza wa Jal's hand. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, be careful who your friends are. Be careful who you hang out with. Because at the end of the day, when the going gets tough, at the end of the day when it comes down to business, when it comes down to the crunch, wallahi, just like those blokes left him in the toilet, they left him OD'd in the toilet, wallahi, they'll leave you. Because when it comes down to the crunch, it's every man for himself. When you're in that grave, it's every man for himself. It's every woman for herself. When you're standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, you're by yourself. You and your a'mal. So choose the right friend. Choose the friend who's going to remind you of Allah Azza wa Jal. Choose the friend who's scared for your dunya and your akhirah. If I was walking down the street, me and my mate, and the bus is passing on the road, and he pushes me in front of the bus. Let's say I managed to roll over and I didn't get hit by the bus. When I get up, am I going to look at this guy like a friend? Would I look at him as a friend? He tried to push me in front of the bus, like I literally almost got killed. I just rolled over and I managed to miss the bus. Would he be a friend? So why would you call the person who's dragging you into the depths of hellfire for eternity your friend? Why? He's dragging you to the depths of hellfire. He's telling you to do haram, which Allah Azza wa Jal punishes. Some of those harams, we even know what the punishment of them is before we even die. Like the man who the Prophet ﷺ saw in his grave, with the angel standing on top of his head, holding a massive boulder, grabbing the boulder and smashing it on his head. And then his head, after being splattered, it would come back together. And then he would grab the angel would grab that boulder again and smash his head again and again for the entire time that he's in the barzakh, he's in the grave. For the entire time, my dear brothers, there are some people now that have been in that grave for hundreds of thousands of years and it's still happening to them. And the punishment hasn't even really started because the judgment hasn't started. That was for what? One of the reasons that person was getting that punishment because he missed his prayers. One of the reasons he was copying that punishment is because he missed his prayers. Now you got someone who you're hanging out with, who every time it comes time to salah, you try to call him to salah, tells you no, and you say, what are you doing that for now, man? We're in the middle of a game. We're in the middle of this, or stuff that, or don't worry about it, we're in the shopping center when you get home. And you call him a friend, he's going to let you in the grave have your head being smashed again and again and again. She's going to cause that rock to splatter your brains again and again and again for the whole barzakh period before the judgment even starts, and then you call her a friend? You call him a friend? No. The true friend is the one who cares about your dunya and your akhirah. The one who wants nothing but for you to be safe in the dunya and the akhirah. The one who wants nothing but to be successful, for you to be successful in the dunya and the akhirah. Not like those friends who you used to hang out with, who as soon as you came to the deen, as soon as you started praying and coming to the mosque, they got upset. How many times has that happened? I'm sure you have seen it. They get upset when you came to the deen. Oh, you're not hanging out with us anymore. Oh, well, you're better than that. You found something better now. You found friends in the mosque. Allahu Akbar, instead of being happy for you, that you saved your dunya, you saved the pains of death, you saved yourself in the grave and you saved yourself in the akhirah. They get agitated. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, choose the right friends. The friends who care about you, who check up on you, who don't want nothing in return. I remember the boys, whenever you had a car back in the days, you're getting all the calls. As soon as you lose your license, is it on silent, man? What's going on? Users, abusers. Choose the friend who care about you, who care about your dunya and your akhirah. The friend who drag you to the mosque, who want the best for you, who want nothing in return. Whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you got a car, whether you're walking, whatever you've got, he wants nothing but for you to be safe. And when you have those friends, and when you and that person are on that right path, and you're worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal, and you're pleasing Allah Azza wa Jal, and He makes your life successful, in the akhirah as well, Allah Azza wa Jal will make your akhirah successful. Shabab, we have to understand something. You see, the friends, they don't just benefit you in the dunya and the akhirah. Even at the time of death. Even at the time of death. The Prophet ﷺ, he told us, if 40 true believers pray upon you, you are forgiven and you enter Jannah. If 40 true believers pray upon you when you die, you'll be forgiven and enter Jannah. How can you have friends? How can you have 40 true believers as friends if you spent all your time with people who are doing haram? You know, I get really affected when I walk into a mosque and there's a janazah. I don't know who the person is, right? I've seen it many times. You walk into the mosque, it's Dahar prayer, and there's a what's it called, coffin at the back. And there's all these people behind the coffin. You're like, MashaAllah, man, all these people here to pray on him. And then it comes time for Dahar. There's only 2 lines. Where did all those people go? You look at the back, they're all sitting at the back. Why? They don't even pray. They don't even know how to pray. When it comes time to pray on that dead person, they're all at the back. None of them know how to pray, or they're non-Muslims. Why? Why aren't there 40 people to pray on him? 40 true believers. Because he hanged out with those people that never prayed or who are non-Muslims. So when it came time for death, they sat at the back of the mosque, they didn't pray on him. And he didn't get his forgiveness. 100 people, 200 people in the mosque, 300 people. 15 are praying. Allahu Akbar. You asked, you got what you wanted. You got what you wanted. That statement in the hadith, it destroys me. When the Prophet ﷺ, he tells us who are the first 3 to enter Jahannam. The first 3, the one is the scholar, the generous man, and the one who died fighting in the path of Allah, the shaheed. These are the first 3 to enter hellfire. Why? Because they did it other than for Allah. So they come and stand in front of Allah, tells them, why did you die? What did you do in your life? One says, I died for your sake. The other one, I taught the religion for your sake. The other one, I gave charity for your sake. He says, no, you didn't. You did it so people can say that you are courageous or knowledgeable or charitable, generous. And you got what you wanted. See that statement? That statement kills me. You got what you wanted. So don't ask me for anything anymore. Go to hellfire. When that person, he hears all these ayat, he hears all these ahadith, and he still chooses to hang out with the wrong person, so he ends up in hellfire. You got what you wanted. You got what you wanted. You chose it with your own hands. I told you take this or this. You walked up and you took this. Don't blame no one but yourself. Don't blame no one but yourself. Shabab, there's an ayah in the Quran. There's an ayah in the Quran that should make your hair stand. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, وَيَوْمَ يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ. Allahu Akbar. And the day, stop referring to the person on the day of judgment. Me and you, if we're these people. On the day of judgment, some people will stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. He says, the zalim, the criminal, the person who chose the wrong friends, who acted out, this person, يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَيْهِ, he will bite down. You know when someone regrets something, how he bites on his finger? Oh wow, Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't say he bites on his fingertip, nor did he say he bites on his whole finger, nor did he say he'll bite down on all his fingers. He said he will bite down on his entire hand. He will shove hands, plural, he will shove his hands, both of them in his mouth, and bite down, breaking the skin, breaking the flesh, breaking the bone, until the scholars say there'll be nothing left of his hands, just in regret of what's going to happen to him. The punishment hasn't even started. The punishment has not even started. Just by seeing the horrors of the day of judgment and knowing he did wrong, he will bite down not on his fingers, not on his hand, on his hands. He will chew them until there's nothing left, just out of regret. Just out of regret for what he's done. What does the ayah continue to say? يوم يعض الظالم على يديه يقول يا ليتني اتخذت مع الرسول سبيلا يا ليتني يا ويلتى ليتني لم أتخذ فلانا خليلا. Allahu Akbar. He says, he bites down and destroys his hands until nothing is left out of regret. And he says, oh, how I wished I followed the Prophets. Woe to me, how I wish I did not take that person as a friend. The one who what? لَقَدْ أَضَلَّنِي عَنَ الذِّكْرِ بَعْدَ إِذْ جَاءَنِي. The one who turned me away from the path after guidance had reached me. Allahu Akbar. Shabab, Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling you specifically that the punishment of the person who chooses the wrong friend in this world is before even the akhirah, before the judgment, before hellfire. Just standing there on the day of judgment, just standing there before his judgment is even accounted for, just standing there, he will be in such pain, horror and regret that it will bite down and chew off his hands and he won't even feel it. Can you imagine what's coming after that? If that's just regret, if that's just the horror of regret, imagine when the actual punishment comes, when he's actually judged in front of Allah, when he's actually thrown in the hellfire. You could either choose that, either choose that, and I'll end off with this, or you can choose the second friend. Who's the second friend? The one who the Prophet ﷺ told us on the Day of Judgment, when the sun is 1 mile above your head and everyone is burning and screaming out and burning according to his deeds and sweating and drowning in that sweat that he's burning from. So he's burning and he's sweating and then he's drowning in that boiling hot sweat for 50,000 years. Two people, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, He'll give them shade on that day when there's no shade except Allah's shade. Who is it? Two people who loved each other for the sake of Allah. They met only for the sake of Allah, and they parted ways only for the sake of Allah. Who's the second person? That person who Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us that after all the people of paradise are in paradise, and after all the people of hell are in hell, a group of people come up to Allah Azza wa Jalla and they'll tell him, Ya Allah, we had a friend. His name was so-and-so. He used to hang out with us. Sometimes he used to come to the mosque with us. Not really, not often, but every now and then he'd come to the mosque with us. Whenever we'd have a barbecue, he'd come and listen to the talk. Maybe only for the food, but he used to show up every now and then. Where is he? So Allah Azza wa Jalla tells him he's in hellfire. So these people call out to Allah and say, Ya Allah, we will not be able to have pleasure in this paradise until you give us our friend. So Allah Azza wa Jalla takes him out of hellfire and puts him into Jannah. Allahu Akbar. Which friends do you want? Do you want the friends who even if you stuff up, and even if you do haram, and even if you end up in hellfire, they'll drag you out into Jannah? Or do you want the friends who even if you're doing good and you're going to make it to Jannah, they throw you into hellfire? Which one do you want? Which one do you want? How many sisters were good until that sister got her to know this guy, or sent her his number, or got her to meet up with someone, or got her to do haram, or corrupted her? How many brothers were good? My own friend, 14 years old, Laylat al-Qadr in Lakamba Mosque, these are the so-called friends. He took him to the park and got him addicted on drugs. Laylat al-Qadr at 14 years old, ruined the rest of his life. Go see him now, tattered up from head to bottom. Which friend do you want? My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, choose your friends wisely. Choose your friends wisely. Big or small, successful or a failure, rich or poor, whatever you are, you have the wrong influences around you, you will be negatively influenced. And you have the right influences around you, even if you're the worst of people. If you have the right influences around you, inshallah, one day you will pull up. One day you will be affected in a good way, inshallah. It's up to you now. Jazakallah khairan. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Hey man, that wasn't part of the deal, bro. No questions and answers. Q&A.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا